Okay, good morning. Today we're going to be covering one of Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales stories. In this case, we're going to cover The Wife of Bath's Tale. Okay? So, go ahead, Marina.
When good King Arthur ruled in ancient days, a king that every Briton loves to praise. This was a land brimful of merry folk. The elf queen of their countries joined and broke their elfin dance on many a green mead, or so was the opinion once I read. Hundreds of years ago, in days of yore, but no one sees fairies anymore.
You're going to see the rhyme at the end. Every two, you're going to see that rhyme.
For now the saintly charity and prayer of holy friars ceased to have purged the air. They searched the countryside through field and stream, as thick as motes the spectacle a sunbeam, blessing the halls, the chambers, kitchens, and bowers, cities and broads, castles, courts, and towers, thorps, barns, and stables, outhouses, and dairies. And that's the reason why there are no fairies.
Okay, it's telling us at the beginning, we got King Arthur, the ruler of that time, and great things are happening. Everything is great. Fairies, in this case, we'll be talking about females, were capable or able to be out there walking around with no problem. Okay? Apparently something happened in our story that it's changing. And now fairies are not, it's not that they're not allowed to be outside, but you don't see that as common as before. Okay? Go ahead.
Whenever there was a fawn to walk an elf, today there walks the holy fair himself. As evening falls or when the daylight springs, saying his matins and his holy things, walking his limits round from town to town, women can now go safely up and down. But every bush or every tree or under every tree, there is no other incubus but he. So there is really no one else to hurt you. He will do no more than to take your virtue. Now it so happened, I began to say.
Okay, now this person is giving us like a briefing of what happened. And now this person will tell a story on what was happening. Fairies were capable of being out. They were capable of being outside and freely. However, something happened that these fairies were not capable of being outside like before. However, after all that commotion, things got straightened up, and now they have the opportunity to be out again. Now this person who is narrating will explain what happened in the past that fairies were lacking and were not able to be outside freely like they do now. Okay, go ahead.
Long, long ago in King Arthur's day, there was a knight who was a lusty liver. One day as he came riding from the river, he saw a maiden walking all forlorn. Ahead of him alone as she was born, and as the maid, in spite of all she said, by a very force she took out the maidenhead.
What is that? By very force he took her maidenhead.
Marriage.
No. Don't take it literal. What happened? No. Forget about the head. If you're using force, this maid was out. She was raped by this knight. Now we're starting to click why fairies were no longer out anymore. Because of the fear of what happened in the past. So now after that, everything got fixed, and now even though they're capable of being, there was a time that they were not capable of being out. Okay? The fairies. Go ahead. Remember, we're talking about, don't take like fairies. We're referring to females, okay? Not like the fairies that you know. No, we're talking about females. No, think about females, okay? Go ahead.
This act of violence made such a stir, so much petitioning of the king for her, that he commanded the knight to lose his head.
So what happened? The king was going to punish this act, and what's going to happen to the knight? He's going to get what? You're gonna kill him. And if it's his head, what's gonna happen? You're gonna chop off his head. Go ahead.
That he commanded the knight to lose his head. By a course of law, he was good as dead. It seemed that then the statutes took that view, but that the queen and other ladies too implored the king to exercise his grace. So ceasefully he gave the queen the case, and granted her his life, and she could choose whether to know him mercy or refuse.
Okay, stop there. Now, females there, in some way, they didn't want the king to take like that privilege, and either the queen. So therefore, they were like begging in some way the king, don't kill him. Give the queen the order to decide what to do. So instead of the king, and it's very important, remember that I told you that Chaucer was going to go against two icons. Number one, the Roman Catholic Church, that was the only church at the time. Remember that the Protestant churches and all that begins with the Lutheran Reformation in what, 1517. So therefore, since the only one was the Roman Catholic, that was the powerful, the only one, and then the sanctity of marriage. Those were the two institutions or the two icons that Chaucer was going against. Now, what's happening? Who had the power? King Arthur. King Arthur is a male. Now, females are like, don't do nothing tonight. Leave the queen decide what to do. That power is now resting on who? The queen, and the queen is a what?
A woman.
Female. Now, pay attention. How everything is shifting. Men with power, and now it's the female. And as we go along, you're gonna see that shift from men to female. Okay? Now, the queen will be the one to decide what we're gonna do with this knight that has raped the maid. Okay, go ahead.
Whether to show him mercy or refuse. And the queen returned him thanks with all her might. And then she sent a summons to the knight. At her convenience and expressed her will, you stand for such in the position still, in no way certain of your life, said she. Yet you shall live if you can answer me.
So she's saying, if you're capable to answer what I'm going to ask you, therefore I will grant your life. So that means if you could answer, then you will live. If you can't, then you will die. Go ahead, ask the question.
What is the thing that women most desire?
That's it. What is the thing that woman must desire? That is the question that the knight will have to go and answer. Go ahead.
Before the axe and say I require.
Beware of the axe.
Beware of the axe.
So it's like, beware, because that's what's coming if you don't answer. Go ahead.
If you can't answer one on the moment, though, I will concede you this. You are to go. A 12-month and a day to seek and learn the sufficient answer. Then you shall return.
How much time he's going to have?
12 months.
12 months and a day. So he's going to have a year and 1 day to come back. This guy, they're going to let him free. Set him free. So knight, you're capable to go. You're free for a year and a day. And then at that time, that will be the limit. He will return, hopefully with the answer. Okay, go ahead.
Then you shall return. I shall take gates from you to escort. Surrender of your body to the court.
It's like if you're thinking about going and escaping and not returning, I will make sure that your body is found, and they're going to bring you here, and you're going to die. So who's having the power now? Female. Continue to pay attention to that. Go ahead.
Sad was the knight and sorrowfully sired. But there, all the choices were denied. And in the end, he chose to go away, and to return after a year and a day. Armed with such an answer as there might be sent to him by God, he took his leave and went.
So the knight is like, do I have another choice? And he was like giving other alternatives. And she says, no, that's the deal. Take it or not. And he says, well, can do nothing. So he went. Go ahead.
And a man can win us best with flattery, to dance attendance on us, make up us, and ensnares us all, the best and worst of us. Some say the things we most desire are these: freedom to do exactly as we please, with no one to reprove our faults and lies. Rather to have one call us good and wise. Jewelers, there is not a woman in 10 score fall and someone rubs sore. But she will kick if what he says it's true. You try it out and you will find so too.
So this guy will go around town and he's gonna start asking, and they're gonna tell him, well, they're female, they like wealth, treasures, abundantly, pleasure, fun in bed, to be widow and remarried. But so far, no one has hit on the click of what he's looking for. Go ahead. Continue.
However vicious we may be within, we like to be thought wise and void of sin. Others assert we women find it sweet, but when we are through, dependable, discreet. In secret, firm, or purpose and controlled, never betray things that we are told. And that's not worth the handle of a rake. Woman conceal a thing, for heaven's sake. Remember, mightiest, you will hear the tale.
Okay, now this person, it tells, I have an example that women are not to be trusted. And I'm going to retell a story, a tale of Midas. Go ahead.
Among some other little things, now still, a boy relates that under his long hair, the unhappy Midas grew a splendid pair of ass ears and are as subtly as he might.
So this Midas had long hair and a pair of ass ears, like donkey ears. Therefore, he was covering the ears with his hair. The only person that knew about this was his wife. No one else. Go ahead.
He kept his sole deformity from sight. Save for his wife, there was not one that knew. He loved her best and trusted her in her too.
Do you think that's a mistake that he trusted her so much? We'll see. Go ahead.
He begged her not to tell a living creature that he possessed so horrible a feature. And she swore, were all the world to win, we will not do such villainy and sin. As saddle her husband with so foul a name. Besides to speak would be enough to share the shame.
Okay, this guy, an iconoclast, Chaucer, he is going against the church, perfect. But in this text, he's going against the sanctity of marriage. However, he's putting that females should have the same rights, same power as males. But he's also mocking females. And he's doing it with this tale of Midas. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, she thought she would have died, keeping the secret bottled up inside. It seemed to swell her heart that she, no doubt, thought it was the point of bursting out. Fearing to speak it to a woman or man, down to reedy marsh she quickly ran, and reached the seas, her heart was all on fire, and as a bitten bumbles in the mire. She whispered to the water near the ground, betray me not, O water, with thy sound. To thee alone I tell it. It appears my husband has a pair of ass ears. Ah, my heart's blow again, the heart's secret's out. I can no longer keep it, not a doubt.
So Chaucer is saying, women are not capable to keep secrets. She went into a little pond, a little lake, and she just was looking into the water, to reflect, and right there she just bursted out that her husband had a pair of ass ears. Go ahead.
And so you see, although we may hold fast a little while, it must come at last. We can't keep secret, as for Midas well. Read a boy, for his story he will tell.
And I'll say, if you want to read more, just read the complete story. Just giving you a glimpse. Go ahead.
The night that I am telling you about, perceived at last we never would find out. What it could be that the woman loved the best, faint that was the soul within his sorrowed breast. As home he went, he dared no longer stay. His year was up, and now it was the day.
So it's 12 months are gone. He has 1 day remaining.
As he rode home in a dejected mood, suddenly at the margin of a wood he saw a dance upon the leafy floor, as 24 ladies neigh and mourn. Urgently he approached in hope to learn some words of wisdom ere he should to return. But lo, before he came to where they were, dancers and dance all vanished into air. There wasn't a living creature to be seen, save one old woman crouched upon the green.
So it was like walking all dejected, all like sad, I'm screwed, I'm gonna die. And he saw like it could be like an hallucination of fairies dancing. All of a sudden they disappear and he's gonna see an old female right there next to the bushes. Go ahead.
A foul-looking creature, I suppose, could scarcely be imagined. She arose, and said, Sir Knight, there's no way one on from here. Tell me what you are looking for, my dear. For pre-adventure that were best for you. We old women know a thing or two. Dear mother, said the knight, alack the day. I am as good as dead if I can't say. The thing is that the woman what thing is the thing that woman's most desired? If you could tell me, I would pay you higher.
Pay attention to that line. If you can tell me, I will pay you higher. If you can tell me, I'll do whatever you want.
Give me your hand, she said, and answer to do whatever I shall next require of you. If so, to do shall lie within your might, and you shall know the answer before night. Upon my honor, he answered, I agree.
So he agreed. It says, I agreed. I'll do whatever you want. Just give me the answer. Go ahead.
Then said the crone, I dare to guarantee your life is safe. I shall make good my claim. Upon my life the queen will say the same. Show me the very proudest of them all, in costly covership a jewel call, that dare say not to know what I have to teach.
So the old woman is going to go close to the knight, whisper in his ear, tell him the answer, so he's ready to go.
Let us go forward without further speech. And then she crooned her gospel in his ear, and told him to be glad, not to fear. They came to court, this knight in fully array, stood forth and said, O queen, I've kept my day, and kept my word that my answer is ready.
So the knight appears, and he's like, relax. He's like, I have my answer, I'm ready to go.
There sat the noble matrons and the heady, young girls, and widows too. They had the grace of wisdom, all assembled in that place. And there the queen herself was thrown to hear, and judge his answer. Then the knight drew near, and silence was commanded through the hall. The queen then bade the knight to tell them all. What is the thing that women most want? He stood not silent like the beast or post. He gave him the answer with the ringing word of a man's voice in assembly heard. My liege and lady and general, said he, a woman wants the self-same severity over her head as a woman
Over her husband.
over her husband as over her lover, and master him. He must not be above her. That is your greatest wish, whether you kill or spare me. Please yourself, I await your will.
So the answer is, a woman wants herself some sovereignty over her husband as over her lover. And master him. He must not be above her. So who has the control? Female. Okay, go ahead.
In all the court, not one that shook her head, or contradicted what the knight had said.
So apparently he has the correct answer.
Maid, wife, and widow cried. He saved his life. And on the word up started the old wife, the one the knight said sitting on the green, and cried, Your mercy, sobriety, a lady queen. Before the court desires do me right. Was I thought this answer to the knight, for which he swore and pledged his honor to it, that the first thing I asked him he'd do it. So far it shall be the lie within his night. Before this court I ask you then, Sir Knight.
So the old lady walks out. Hey, you have to we agreed on something, so we have to make it happen. Go ahead.
To keep your word and take me for your wife. For well you know that I have saved your life.
So the knight is gonna have to marry the old woman. You want to rape some young maidens now? Marry the old woman. Go ahead.
If this be false, deny it in your sword.
The knight is like that. You're kidding. You're kidding.
At last, he said, O lady, by the Lord, I know indeed that such as my behest, but for God's love, think of a new
He
request.
says, think about another option. There should be another option rather than marrying you.
Take all my goods, but leave me my body free. A curse on us, she said. If I agree, I may be foul, I may be poor and old, yet will not choose to be here for all the gold.
I may be poor and old, but I'm not stupid. Go ahead.
That's bedded in the earth or lies above. Less than your wife, nay, than your very love. My love, he said, be by heaven, by my
Damnation.
damnation. Alas, that any my race and station should ever make so foul a alliance.
That's alliance?
Yet in the end, he's pleading and defiance. All went for nothing. He was forced to wed, to take his ancient wife and go
So
to bed.
he plead, he whined, he did everything, but he was forced to wed. So he had to wed the old lady.
Now, peradventure, some may well suspect a lack of care in me since I neglect to tell me the rejoicing and display made at feast upon their wedding day. I have a short answer to let fall. I say there was no joy or feast at all, nothing but heaviness of heart and sorrow. He married her in private on the morrow,
So he's like, they married in the morning. Go ahead.
and all that day long stayed hidden like an owl. It was such torture that his wife looked foul. Great was anguish churning in his head, when he and she were piloted to bed. He wallowed back and forth in desperate style.
So what is the mood of this guy? He's like, no, I don't want to go to bed with this female. Go ahead.
His ancient wife lay smiling all the while. At last she said, "Bless us, is this my dear? How knights and wives get on together here. Are these the laws of good King Arthur's house, or are these of his all so contemptuous?"
Okay, Mary, continue.
I am your own beloved and your wife. And I am she, indeed, that saved your life. And certainly, I never did you wrong. Then why, this first of all nights, so sad a song? You're carrying on as if you were half-witted. Say, for God's love, what sin have you committed? Have I committed? I'll put things right if you will tell me how.
So the old lady is like, dude, like, I saved your life. You should thank me. Quit whining. You already married with me. I have done no wrong. Say whatever you want and I'll do it. I'll make it happen. So she is in a good mood with this marriage. The one that is not in a good mood is the husband. Go ahead.
Put right, he cried. That never can be now. Nothing can ever be put right again. You're old and so abominably plain.
So now he's like just insulting the old lady.
So poor to start with, so low bred to follow. It's little wonder if I twist and wallow. God, that my heart would burst within my breast. Is that, said she, the cause of your unrest? Yes, certainly, he said. And can you
Mary's doing it like correct because she's like narrating like the guy and then like the lady is like, but relax, like you're very good. Continue.
I could set right what you suppose of blunder. That's if I cared to, in a day or two. If I were shown more courtesy by you. Just now, she said, you spoke of gentle birth, such as the sons from ancient wealth and worth. It's that claim you make for gentlemen. Such arrogance is hardly worth a hint. Whoever loves to work for vicious ends, public and private, and who most intends to do what deeds of gentleness he can, take him to the greatest gentleman. Christ wills we take our gentleness from him, not from a wealth of ancestry long done. Though they bequeath their whole establishments, by which we claim to be of high descent.
So now she's gonna be like sermoning the knight.
Our fathers cannot make us bequest of all those virtues that became them best, and earned for them the name of gentlemen, but bade us follow them as best we can.
It's like our gentlemen, like our parents, they showed us to behave, and they show you guys to behave as a gentleman. Then you guys should just follow that pattern and behave like a gentleman, not behave like you're behaving right now. She's saying to him. Go ahead.
Thus the wise poet of the Florentinus, Dante by name, has written in these lines, for such is the opinion Dante launches. Seldom arises by these slender branches, prowess of men, for it is God, no less, wills us the claim of him, our gentleness. For our parents nothing can we claim, save temporal things, and these may hurt and maim. But everyone knows this as well as I. For if gentility were implanted by the natural course of lineage down the line, public or private, could have ceased to shine.
So it's like you have to behave like a gentleman outside to the rest of the people and inside private to me. Go ahead.
And doing the fair work of gentle deed, no vice or villainy could the bear seed, take fire and carry it to the darkest house between this kingdom and Caucasus, and shut the doors on it and leave it there. It will burn on, and it will burn as fair as if 10,000 men were there to see it. For fire will keep us its nature and degree. I can assure you, sir, until it dies.
So it's like either you relax and behave, or we're gonna have hell as in marriage. So you decide.
But gentleness, as you will recognize, is not annexed in nature to possessions. Men fail in living up to their professions. But fire never ceases to be fire. God knows you'll often find, if you inquire, some lording full of villainy and shame. If you would be esteemed for the mere name of having been by birth a gentleman, and steaming from some virtuous noble clan, and do not live yourself by gentle deed, or take your father's noble code and creed, you are no gentleman, though duke or earl. Vice and bad manners are what make a churl. Gentility is only the renown for bounty that your fathers handed down, quite foreign to your person, not your own. Gentility must come from God alone. That we are gentle comes us by grace, and by no means is it free with place. Reflect how noble, says Valerius, was Tullius surnamed Postulus, who rose from poverty to nobleness, and read Boethius, Seneca no less. Thus they express themselves and are agreed. Gentle is he that does a gentle deed.
So now she's telling like a list of men in history that have been like a gentleman. She's like, learn from this man that has been a gentleman throughout and they have been successful.
And therefore, my dear husband, I conclude that even if my ancestors were rude, yet God on high, and so I hope he will can grant me grace to live in virtue still. A gentlewoman, only when beginning to live in virtue and to shrink from sinning. As for my poverty, which you reprove, Almighty God himself, in whom we move, believe, and our being, chose life of poverty, and every man or wife, nay, every child can see our heavenly King, would never stoop to choose a shameful thing.
Wait, Paola, continue. There are 2 pages, last 2 pages.
If there's no shame.
Marina, go ahead. Finish it up.
No shame in poverty if the heart is gay, and Seneca in all that he learned to say. He who accepts his poverty unheard, I'd say is rich, although he lacks a shirt. But truly poor are the who a whine and fret, and cover what he cannot hope to get. And he that, having nothing, converts not, is rich, though he may think that he is a sod. True poverty can find a song to sing. Juvenal says a pleasant little thing. The poor can dance and sing in the relief of having nothing that will tempt the thief. Though it is hateful, poverty is good, a great incentive to a livelihood, as great help to our capacity, for wisdom is if accepted patiently. Poverty is, though wanting in state, a kind of wealth that none calumniate. Power often, when the heart is lowly, brings one to God and teaches what is holy, gives knowledge of oneself and even leads a glass book by which to see one's truest friends. And since it's no offense, let me plain, do not rebuke my poverty again. Lastly, you tax me, sir, with being old. Yet even if you were never had you told, by ancient books you gentlemen engage yourselves in honor to respect old age. To call an old man father shows good breeding. And could be supported by my reading from my reading.
So she's like, you're calling me old, but as your parents are older, you respect them more. Books give you knowledge, and they're old, so I don't think you should be complaining that I'm old. Go ahead.
You say I'm old and fouler than a fiend. You need no fear to become old. Then, filled in old age, I'm sure you will agree. Our powerful wardens upon chastity. Nevertheless, well knowing your delights, I shall fulfill your wonderful appetites. You have two choices.
So now she's gonna ask she's gonna give them two choices. Go ahead.
Which one will you try? To have me old and ugly till I die, but still a loyal, true, and humble wife, that never will displease you all her life? Or would you rather I were young and pretty, and chance you warm that happens in city, where friends will visit you because of me? Yes, and in other places too, maybe.
Okay, stop there. What are the two choices? Number one, either you have me old and ugly till I die, but I still a loyal, true, and humble wife that never will displease you all her life. So I will be loyal, I will cook for you, I will do bed, I will do everything at home for you. I'm old, or rather you prefer me to be young and pretty, and that every time you go out with me, old males will be looking after me. And what will happen? That I will fall with any of these men, both in bed or out. So what do you decide? A loyal and truthful wife, or a wife that will be not only with you, but will be with multiple men? Okay, go ahead. Which would you have?
The choice is all your own. The night that long, and with a piteous groan, at last he said, with all the care and lack, my lady and my love, my dearest wife, I leave the matter to your wise decision.
So again, man is giving female what? The decision. So ultimately, females are going to decide again. So now again, the power of the female here.
You make the choice yourself for the provision of what may be agreeable and rich, and honor to us both. I don't care which. Whatever pleases you suffices me. And have I won the mastery? Said she. Since I am to choose and rule up, I think fit. Certainly, wife. He answered her. That's it. Kiss me, she cried.
No quarrels.
No quarrels, on my oath. And word of honor, you shall find me both. That is both fair and faithful as a wife. And may I be holding mad and take my life, unless I prove to be as good and true as ever wife and was since the world was new. And if tomorrow, when sun's above, I seem less fair than any lady love, than any queen or empresses east and west, do with life and death as you think best. Cast upon the curtain, husband, look at me. And when indeed the night had looked to see, lo, she was young and lovely, rich in charms, and ecstasy he caught her in her arms.
So what happened with the old woman? Now the night is seeing her young and beautiful. Go ahead.
His heart went bathing in a bath of blisses, and melted in 100,000 kisses. And she responded in the fullest measure, with all that could be delight or give him pleasure. So they lived ever after to the end, in perfect bliss, and made Christ Jesus sin. Us husbands meek and young and fresh in bed, and grace to overbid them when we wed. And Jesus, hear my prayer. Cut short the lives of those who won't be governed by their wives. And all old angry niggards of their pens, God send them soon a very pestilence.
Okay, Chaucer in this text over and over will show how eventually females will have the power, how men are going to shift that power to female. So it's like, for example, there are people that get married, and like the man always, you know what, you're the female, so pay everything of the house. Here's my check. This is an example of females having the power. And in this case, instead of being equal, you're having the female on top of men. And this is the way that Chaucer will criticize, will do the satire to criticize the sanctity of marriage. That will be it for the Wife of Bath.